All right. So, what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to start breaking down a lot of my trades that I've taken, over the course of the last year. I think it's going to provide a lot of context of, what to look for throughout different market conditions. And, it's really going to give you a good sense of when to short or when to go long on stocks, which you may have heard me talk about a lot in my last videos. So, one of the months that I kind of wanted to start breaking down was November of last year. November of 2020 was a month where momentum really started to slow down. Sometimes when you have years where you're kind of going into that holiday season, it's very common to see things just kind of fizzle out, and you kind of get this lull, right before the holidays. So I know a lot of traders in last November, they got chopped up a lot. And November was actually one of my best months. And why was that, right? If you're going to trade stocks, you really have to learn how to be, mentally flexible, I would say. While I do mostly trade long, if there's a month that just isn't very strong, then I'm going to start to look to start short selling some of those opportunities or some of those stocks that pop up. And what is short selling, right? So short selling essentially is you make money when the stock goes down, right? So naturally, I'm sure if you buy a stock and it rises in value, then you'll make profit. Now with shorting, if you get that same rise, you would actually be losing money. But on the flip side of that, you would actually be making money if the stock goes down. So November was actually one of the only months I've ever had where I actually went perfect for the month. I actually didn't have one red day in the month of November. So I want to start breaking down some of my trades from late last year. And one of the trades, or one of the days that I really wanted to break down, because I think it would provide a lot of context, is November 27th. So November 27th, we had a stock come up. It was Rail, RAIL, and when I did my daily analysis on it just didn't look like it would be able to move quite a bit, and it looked like it had a pretty good likelihood of kind of getting halted at a certain level, and it would meet a lot of resistance. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to show you exactly what I saw as I did my daily analysis. So let me see here. I want to make sure that we're seeing this just as we would on November 27th. So, okay. So this is pretty much the information that we would have in front of us, right? So it's November 27th, 2020. The stock comes up. We want to see do we like it? Do we not like it? Where is it most likely going to hit its head? So, the first thing I always do with my charts is I'm going to draw my trend lines. So let's take a look at some of the trend lines for this stock here. Again, this is a daily chart. You can see right here it says D. Obviously, it stands for daily. So what I look for in trend lines is I want to see consistency in price action, right? I want to see consistency where these stocks will essentially be meeting in multiple places. So you have one touch here, another here, another here, another here, another here. So that's most likely to be a very valid line. As far as other trend lines go, I don't know if I see any. And this is really over the course of a year, right? This is November 2020 to pretty much October the year before. I don't think anything before that is going to be too relevant. So I usually keep it 6 months to a year, which I'll backdate my analysis to. So now let's look for our key levels, right? What's a key level? A key level is where a stock will most likely hit resistance, and where it has hit resistance previous to that point. So again, consistency in price action. Where has it had a hard time? If you look right here, I'm going to draw this here because this is called a swing high, where it kind of pops up right here and stops. And you have a very similar level right here, right? And it might be a little bit hard to see with the trend line, so I'll zoom in when I'm done with this. Obviously right here, because you had a flush right before this and you had a couple days where it just couldn't pop above that. You have a couple days where it kind of double top there, and then you have another swing high right here. So as far as trend lines and daily lines, this would really be my analysis of it. So, what do we see, right? So let me get this a little bit more in focus. So when I'm looking at this, right, I'm really going to be looking, my first focus is literally going to go to this 350 level. That looks like that's a pretty strong trend line. I mean, that's been respected quite a bit. So, if I'm trading this stock, I'm naturally going to expect at 350 that we might have a lot of problems. We might have a lot of trouble getting past that level. So what I essentially did before the video starts, what I essentially did was I shorted going into that level, meaning I started to take positions at key points leading up to that 350. Now on a stock that's under like maybe $4 or $5, you're gonna see 25-cent marks start to act as psychological levels of support and resistance. And what does that mean, right? So if I'm trading a $10 stock, I'm going to expect psychological levels to be 50 every 50 cents. So your 950s, your $10, 1050s, 11, you're going to look for the stock to kind of stutter at those points. But because the stock is so cheap, it's only a $3 stock, it might do a lot of the same at that 325, 350, 375 levels. So, that's really a lot of what I had in mind when I was trading this. So, that being said, I mean, it was a day where I was able to make, $516, but it overall was a slower day. But here's how we can play a day that's really slow and not really great for trading. So as we start here, the first thing you'll notice is that I obviously already have an open position on it. I'm already shorting it, and you can see that it's short because it's negative 1250 instead of positive 1250 shares. And because it's negative, that means it's short. So why did I start shorting it there? Now, well, first and foremost, my max size on this, the absolute biggest position I would have had on this was probably 3,000 or 4,000 shares. So I started to take my position right around that 3 flat level, right? Because it had struggled there earlier that morning. And, that being said, I felt like if it got over, I just didn't feel like the market would provide enough momentum for it to really hold that level. So I expected if it did get over, then it would certainly struggle with 325. So I kind of tried to layer in my position really as much as I could between 3 and 325, because I just didn't think a push to 350 was very likely, because everybody's seeing the same thing I'm seeing, right? You have other traders analyzing this and saying to themselves, okay, on our daily trend line, I mean, it's going to have a lot of problems at 350, 350, just like I showed you earlier, right? So, that being said, a lot of this video is actually sped up because, I don't want to have these videos go, an hour, 2 hours. So I'm literally going to break down an entire trading session in about 5 minutes right now. So let's start this here. So right off the bat, again, I'm negative 1,250 shares on it. And you can see I'm negative on the position, which is okay. You're going to have to be able to stomach some risk. And I have a cut point. If in all actuality, if this stock pushes through 325 and starts to strongly get through 330, then I'm going to cut my losses. And it wouldn't be with the whole position either. So, I'd really be mitigating a lot of the loss should that happen. So let's see exactly how this played out. And obviously, time and sales level 2, very, very important. These are actually the real-time sales coming in as we speak. So you could that's really going to be indicative of where it'll struggle. If you see a lot of selling at certain points, then, you would look for that later in the day as well. Like if a stock struggles at $5 at 10 a.m., it might struggle there at 12 p.m., So you always want to be mindful of that. Now, what's happening here, right? You're seeing a topping tail, right? So what's a topping tail? A topping tail is one of these candles that has a very long wick at the top. And being that these are 5-minute candles, what this is saying is in this 5-minute time frame, it's having a hard time staying above this level or above this body where it closes. So once I see topping tails, I mean, that's really indicating a lot of weakness after a stock has made a strong push. So that being said, that kind of confirmed a lot of my short bias with this. And as you can see, I'm up 258 on the day. I mean, it's a really slow start to the day. And the video speeds up obviously very significantly here because, again, I wanted to make sure that in the interest of time, we're able to kind of see the trade in its entirety play out. Now, once you're seeing topping tails that are green, your antenna should kind of be up to say like, okay, there should be weakness here. What do we do? When you see a red topping tail, that's even indicative of more weakness than a green. Now that being said, where are my profit targets on this? I never get into a stock and kind of just say, let's see what it does, right? When I get into a trade, I'm going to be saying to myself, this is the exact point where I'm going to start taking profits. So that being said, one of those points on this was down to the 9 exponential moving average on the 5-minute chart, which is our gray line right there. And as we approach that, you can see that I'm starting to actively look to take profits on it. So right then and there, I covered half my position. Now I'm down to shorting 625 shares. If it flushes below that, as well as VWAP, that volume weighted average price, that orange line, I'm going to start to cover a little bit more, which you just saw there. So now I'm shorting it 313, and I just went from 258 in profit to 403 on the day. Now, where's my next profit target, right? My next profit target is going to be the 20 exponential moving average, which is that blue line right under it. And right under there, I'm going to start to really kind of say to myself, all right, it's most likely to get a lot of support here. And if it's going to flush through that, then it's probably going to have to test it multiple times. It's very rare that a stock will kind of just go through a level. It's going to have to usually test it either way a couple times before it starts making a move through. So I just took another half. What I like to do with these is I'll take half, then take half, then take half, then take half. And as I start to exit the position here, you could see that I'm up 487 on it when, I started this trade up, $258 for the day. So, the last trade that I took on it, it was a small trade, but, I felt like that there was a little bit more opportunity in it. A break of VWAP is a setup, right? There's certain setups that I look for to actively take. And one of these setups is the break of VWAP. If I think a stock is going to be strong, then I'll play that to the long side, and I'll look to get in right below VWAP when I start to see a little confirmation that it's going to work its way through. That being said, if I think that sometimes a stock might be weak going through VWAP, I'll play it in the opposite direction. I'll actually take a short position in that stock, and I'll profit when it comes back down. And a lot of these stocks, they're going to have a lot of the same behavior. And that's very important to know. So when we see a break of VWAP, now that orange line, right? When we see it below that, we're going to consider the stock weak. If it makes a push through, then we can start to consider it strong. But again, you're going to need to see confirmation there before changing your bias completely on it. And being that I had a short bias on it, I just didn't see enough to make me say to myself, this is now a long play. So what do we expect to see with the break of VWAP, right? If a stock is trending below, right, the VWAP's right here, you're going to see it tap, right, most likely come down a little bit, maybe consolidate for a couple candles. You'll see it push through, and then you'll see it retest back down to VWAP, right? So it's going to hit its head, come down a little bit, break through, and then what you actually want to see if you're going to change your bias and you're going to start to think it's strong is you want to see VWAP now hold it, right? Prior resistance now becomes support. So when VWAP is acting as resistance, once you see that breakthrough, you're going to want to see confirmation that it's acting as support. So let's see how I played this trade here. Again, this is very sped up in the interest of time. So again, this was a very small trade, but I took my starter position there. Again, 2, 3, 4,000 shares I'm okay with taking on the stock. So I start with literally 250 in case it starts to fly, it won't hurt me too bad. But as you can see here, it tapped it once, right? Came back down, went back through. And now what you want to see right at this exact moment is you want to see it hold. If it doesn't, then it could start to flush very violently here. And what you're starting to see is multiple candles touch that $3 mark and not like being there. It kind of came back down each time. And when it kind of makes this final push through, you're expecting to see, market structure take place. You're starting to see lower highs and lower lows. So I didn't expect this to test a high a day here, which was almost 330. And not only that, I'm actively reading the level two. I see the sales coming in. I have a pretty good understanding of what that usually means for the stock in either direction, just because I've seen so much of it. And what I'm going to start to do now is, as I'm building out this smaller position, I'm going to look to do the same. I'll start taking profit on that position because, again, I'm making money when the stock goes down on this one. So, what I exit, when I exit here, you're going to see that that's on a flush, right? Right as you saw right there, it might see how it's kind of bouncing off that blue level. If it gets support there, then I don't want to still be in it. So that's why I started actively taking profit there. And then I left a very small piece in just to let my winner run a little bit. Very important, let your winners run, cut your losers very quickly. And you saw me take the last little bit of it when it kind of flushed through that VWAP line a final time. So that being said, I'll do more videos of this where I kind of speed through the whole trading session. I think they're going to be a lot more valuable than sitting there for a couple hours and trying to keep up with it. I think, multiple, 15, 20-minute videos, hopefully, a few 5-minute videos are going to be a lot more helpful because you'll be able to watch a lot more of them. And, if you guys have any requests, if there's anything that you guys want me to cover, or if there's any certain topic that you're having an issue with, shoot me a DM. Let me know. I'm more than happy to cover it. So I appreciate you guys watching, and there will be more to come.